This episode is brought to you by Civita, Moody's, and Turkish Airlines.
And yeah, you were talking about this thing revisiting economics. Oh, this is a fake coffee, right? Hey, Creative Shock Podcast says hello. Here, with the help of our amazing guests, we are trying to promote the idea of social business. We discuss the already existing businesses, guests share their experience, and much more. If you find this podcast interesting, please spread the word by sharing. Now, enjoy listening. We're live and rolling. This is a very special episode today. It's the first video podcast. It's the first podcast outside of ISM University. And today we have a very special guest, Jurgis Didžiulis, who is a musician, activist, entrepreneur. Am I right?
To a certain extent, I would say I'm an entrepreneur.
Okay, welcome.
Thanks, man. Thank you for the generous introduction. A special guest. Now I feel special.
Yeah, you are special.
Oh.
We're if we're taking into account that you have been a host of many of our conferences, and yeah, could you tell more about yourself to those who don't know you yet, the new participants?
Yeah, sure. Usually I'm not wearing sunglasses. This is
Got
not.
into a fight, right?
I got into a fight with my wife. No, I have a small eye infection, and so it's not just my rock star credentials that allow me to wear my sunglasses indoors or something like that. It's just uncomfortable with the light. But that said, I really think that entrepreneurship is one of those important qualities that most human beings have. And very often we try to put people into categories, right?
Mm.
So I mean, if you look at a person who is selling his music, right, you'll say he's a musician, right? But if he's actually working on the marketing, if he's discovering better ways to serve his audience, if he's discovering new ways to offer music as a service to others, well, he definitely is operating as an entrepreneur as
Yeah.
well. The same way that you were saying, oh, you're a very special guy, and so you're also operating as a psychologist because you're affecting the way I feel. And so I don't like to say what I am. I like to say what I do, and what I do is I mix my passion for participative music
Mm-hmm.
with social phenomenon, and I use that to activate, to elevate, to educate. And I make a living usually helping organizations or groups of people experience togetherness and redirect or somehow work on their internal culture through music.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, I believe in putting it all out there. So obviously, there's activism and there's a whole bunch of things I get involved with inevitably. But
Okay.
it's very difficult to put into like, oh, it's like activism. Yeah, oh, he's a musician. Yeah. But I mean, anybody who studies business administration knows that if you're going to market anything, you have to be very clear as to what you're selling. And so if you're lost in concepts, you have to be very clear. So that's what I say. I do music and social phenomenon.
Okay. So a fun guy. For,
Yeah.
For those who are international listeners, right? For those who the finalists, the teams who are coming to Creative Shock, right? They have to travel. They have to travel far, experience cultural shock, etc. Right? You travel a lot as well. What
Yes.
motivates you to do that? What you gain? The question might be a cliche, right? But what motivates you to travel and what do you get from it, right?
But I mean, our main audience being people who are into entrepreneurship, into business, right? So I love thinking of things in terms of value.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that one of the reasons why business is fucked as it is because we tend to think of value as monetary value, and we don't have good methods of defining value beyond
That's true.
the monetary means, right? But I remember when I was younger that I used to travel to places, and you don't need to spend money to have amazing experiences. You meet new people. You say, hey, oh, you're French. Oh, great. Is this the way you French people party? Lovely. And you can gain a lot of emotional,
Mm-hmm.
cultural value for free. And this is very interesting because that's very much at odds with their money-making system at the moment, you know. I'm not an anti-capitalist by any means, but I definitely think that capitalism needs to be revisited in the sense that a lot of the things that are worth a lot are priceless and therefore are free, right? And so I think that traveling is one of those best ways to enrich yourself at a very good price, right? Because if you're trying to enrich yourself emotionally, culturally with money, you're
Yeah.
going to end up paying a lot. Whereas if you're like an
course.
Erasmus student and you're traveling, you can enrich yourself just by traveling. Now my desire to travel is a little bit different because although I'm still curious and I want to
Mhm.
learn more about cultures, I realize that there's a lot of cultures that are dying in the world. There's languages that are dying. There's oral traditions, there's storytelling traditions, there's singing traditions. There are cultural traditions which have been alive for thousands and thousands of years
Yeah.
and now finally they're dying. And for me then, the idea to be able to go and experience them firsthand is one of the things that motivates me. So at the moment I'm really kind of exploring more like saying, "Oh, you know, like a Sufi guitar player or like a Sufi." I'm like, let's do it. Where is he? Or like, we're gonna go meet some Indians which do which make it rain with special kind of crystals, and you're like,
Yeah.
I want to meet them, you know. And so it's a bit of a different thing. I think at the end of the day, yeah, the thing of value is constant. Only what is moving me now is not the stimulus of a lot of wow, this is amazing, but actually trying to get to know and preserve cultural elements that will literally be gone. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, that will make them priceless.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. Cannot agree more, I guess. Well, it's a very interesting point to look at travels from. Um, yeah, but talking about you, and you're talking a lot about music, right? But Lithuanians know you as a musician,
Right.
but not many know that you've studied business.
Yeah. Ain't
Tell
that a
us more
bummer?
about that.
It's weird. Well, I became famous here since like 2003, 2005, in an
Hmm.
age before social media. And we did really well. And I think one of the reasons I did very well, or we did very well, is because we were allowing ourselves to break the mold of what pop music was back then.
Hmm.
It was like that was again an age where, aside from a couple of groups, people were just, doing a lot of easy music. And we were actually, interestingly enough, we were very much based on live music. And we had at some point 8, 9, 10, 12 people on stage.
Hmm.
And I remember the way that I got them together was by initially saying, if you guys work for me, I will guarantee this many litas. Back then it was litas,
Yeah.
litas a month in gigs. And what we did, which I realize now was very odd, is like we played all the private gigs. Like we
Hmm.
said, that's where the money is, right? It's not on the pop scene, it's not on the big stages. And back then that was absolutely the case. Curiously enough, I think that we were probably the most grossing groups for 5, 6 years in a
Hmm.
row, doing what a lot of people consider nowadays to be, we have this word in Lithuania, chaltura. I don't know how to, like a gig, right? Like you're
Yeah.
just playing gigs. But I think it was that mentality. I think it was that mentality of like, hey, let's get gigs, let's get paid to do what we love,
Hmm.
that moved me forward. Unfortunately, after 2010, like we did Eurovision, and I feel we hit a wall.
Hmm.
And we hit a wall. Like everybody had bought their houses, they had mortgages, they had kids, they bought cars, refrigerators, all kinds of other appliances. And all of a sudden they're like, well, we need to keep making money. I'm like, guys, this is not about the money. This is about the music. And so you find yourself at a
Yeah.
crossroads where it's like, am I supposed to do what I love, or am I supposed to do what pays the bills? And fortunately for me, it was business administration, my master's,
Hmm.
that kind of put everything into perspective. Which also is also a way of thinking that applies very directly to social enterprise.
Hmm. And about the master's degree, well, sometimes people just get those degrees just for getting a diploma, right? Um, did it change your perception of the world, of the business world, these studies?
Completely. I think the business administration should be as necessary as privalomas. I'm thinking Lithuanian,
Yeah,
as
mandatory.
necessary as
Yeah.
mandatory as geometry, as arithmetic.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is really important because it's actually, if you know how the money flows, you know, if you know where the money goes, you know where humanity flows.
Yeah.
Right. So it's very important to know, like, just to follow the money. What's happening?
Mm-hmm.
Who's creating value? Who's moving things? I mean, I studied political science because I wanted to understand how the world works. But it was only business administration that actually gave me a toolbox,
Mm-hmm.
a series of concepts, ideas, and an understanding to be able to do something about it, right? I mean, if you even think about it, politicians, they can't really change anything because at the end of the day, they're slaves of opinion. But an entrepreneur, a person with a good idea, a good heart,
Yeah.
again, a good heart, a good idea, and good skills, and they could maybe take us to the moon or something like that. Now, I'm not necessarily saying Elon Musk is the shit and everybody should be like Elon Musk, but if you want to change things,
Mm-hmm.
like, think about it. NASA couldn't get their asses on the moon, and here's a guy who says, "I'm gonna do better than Buzz Aldrin and these guys."
Yeah.
So this is actually a witness, and I believe in it completely, of people having ideas and knowing how to execute.
Yeah. And this good heart, good mind narrative is getting more popular, right? Because previously business was just for business, for making money. Now we see ways that we can impact the world in a better way, right? To find some positive externalities. So what pops to your mind when you hear social business?
Oh man, see, here's the thing. I think we've got it ass backwards when it comes to business, especially nowadays, because we forget the context, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are now very much in this kind of neoliberal, very kind of Chicago economics
Mm-hmm.
style, a Friedman-esque kind of like
Yeah.
mentality where, where the main mandate of a business is to make money, right?
Yeah.
And that's messed up because that's
That
not
is.
the way it used to be. It was, if you think about it, we think about, for example, Adam Smith, and we go back in time and you say, the industrialists weren't the first businessmen. If you think about it, it was probably the merchants. But
Mm-hmm.
wait, what about people selling their surplus in agricultural circles? Are they businessmen? They're entrepreneurs as well. The thing is that if we understand again the idea of service, a business is service. It's the way I serve you.
Mm-hmm.
It's me not only understanding that as a cook I have to cook the food, but I have to provide a table, I have to provide a bathroom, I have to provide a concept, an idea.
Mm-hmm.
I have to answer all these things. This is where things start to get very strange. The thing is that at some point, when we started getting into the industrial revolution, speaking about surplus and things like that, and getting people into assembly lines, value became strictly a monetary concept. And so today, the way we reconcile this is through talking about externalities, like saying, oh no, well, what about the environment or this and that? But the original captains of economy, the original people, the original businessmen who changed the world knew they were doing just that. I don't know. Did you watch perhaps Kevin Spacey in this the political one,
House of Cards.
House of
Yeah, a
Cards?
bit of it.
At some point, he's talking to this multi-billionaire magnate or something, but he says something that's true. It's like, he says, what you don't fail to see is that power is money, right?
Yeah.
It's just in another degree. It's like, and if you're chasing money, you really don't understand what it's about. Money at the end of the day is faith, especially as fiat currency.
Mm.
It's just us saying, it's like this bit in my account is worth €1 and you believe in the euro. It's all a belief system.
Yeah,
Because
it is.
because the concept of value at the end of the day is relaxed. But the power that belief wields behind it, I think, is what is super important. And so when we talk about social enterprise, I like to remind everybody and say, all business is social. It always has been. It happens because of people, for people, because you're selling to people, despite of human beings who don't like your business,
Mm.
in service of people who you will be serving. So it is all social. And I think that returning people into the center of business and moving money a little bit to the side, not entirely, because the economics have to be sound.
Yeah.
They always have to be sound. I think that's super important for entrepreneurship to lead the way into a 21st century that works for 100% of humanity.
Yeah, and we see big companies realizing that, right? Like taking care of their employees, giving them random benefits, right? And the efficiency increases a lot, and people are happier. Yeah,
Mm.
and even
They're not so
companies.
random benefits, you know.
Yeah, I mean random benefits looking from employees'
Right.
perspective, like random lunch gifts or whatnot, and I don't know, gym benefits and stuff. But yeah, everything's calculated. Well, must be, at least estimated, right? And we see even companies moving for like 4 days working week,
Yeah.
right? That seems like a new normal to me. It should be, I think, in a long term.
Man, you see the interesting thing there. And sorry for interrupting, but the thing I think that's happening right now is that people are understanding that we're not here only to survive. We're here to thrive.
Yeah.
Right? And so a lot of people were satisfied with just surviving. I'm from Colombia, you know, I'm from Colombia, and we have big problems with inequality.
Yeah.
And the reason you can pay people really terrible wages is because they're only interested in surviving. And I don't blame them. It's like if you don't know how to feed yourself, your kids, you're in a very, you know, you're at the bottom of the Maslow pyramid.
Yeah.
You're at the bottom of the Maslow pyramid. You can't think about higher things. But here's the curious thing that's occurring is that we have a critical mass of human beings, especially younger people from your generation and younger, who are like saying, we are here in this planet, on this planet, in this dimension, to do something more than just eat, breathe, and reproduce. We're here to do something else. And once they start thinking on that level, imagine they're not taking mortgages, they're not buying property, they're not, you know, they're very careful with their debts. You know, they're an experience based, you know, they're experience based human beings. And so here's the curious thing that we're seeing is that there is a shift. And I think that the business is seeing that that is the shift, that people want not, I mean, this may sound a bit crazy, but previously we have to recognize these systems were coercive. Business was a coercive system. And people don't like to recognize it, but if you think about the cotton mills, right?
Oh yeah.
Who was working? Who was working the coal mines? Were those guys getting a good salary? Who was working the cotton plantations? It was slaves. Slavery was one of the biggest businesses until it was abolished, right?
Yeah.
What about sugarcane and all of this? There are still so many businesses today which are run on labor that is infrahuman. So in a way, for us to start thinking of business as like, oh wow, something that will transform humanity, is a very elitist a luxury. But I think that if we don't take responsibility for that, you know, really say that, man, I for example have cheap cotton because somebody made it cheap, or I wear cheap shoes because somebody made them cheap, then we can't really bring proper change to this equation. But again, I love this concept of, and I'm going to present it now. It's been on the tip of my tongue.
Right.
It's that we've got, it has to be this and that. Change cannot be exclusive. It has to include everybody. It can't be my truth versus your truth. No, it has to be both of our truths.
Is it possible though?
Man, it is possible. I think it's possible. The thing is that we've become very confrontational at the moment, but trust is more important than truth. I don't have to believe your truth for us to trust each other.
Oh yeah, that's definitely relative nowadays.
I think so, and I think that people getting hung up on truth is more something like a way of manipulating people. But at least like just take it to into the business realm. I would say it is super important for people to say, I need to make a profit, right? But I have to think beyond Friedman, and I have to do good for society. I have to be impeccable with myself as well, with my morals. I have to be impeccable with the organisms around me. And so, you know, historically, there used to be this triple bottom line affair. You know what I'm talking about, right? So sustainability has people, planet, profit, right? It's like the triple bottom line. It used to be like, you know, the strictest bottom line is profit, and that's the only mandate of any manager. And in the United States, you even have you have what's called fiduciary duty. I don't know if you know this, but as a manager, if you, for some stupid reason or some altruistic, ecological, you want to feed kids in Ethiopia or something like that, you destroy value in your company, you can be sent to jail. You can be sent to jail. So
for doing good.
For doing good.
Doing a bit bad.
Yeah,
for
in
your
the
own,
United
right?
States, I'm not kidding. It's crazy.
Well, that's a different country, right?
Yeah, but it's changing. Now they have B Corps and things like that. But the fact is that, so you've got a triple bottom line approach, which is basically what sustainability talks about. People, planet, profit. And then some people say that it's purpose. But again, the issue there is that I think you need to put them all together, and it can't be exclusive. It's like you're going on vacation.
Yeah.
You want the food to be good. You want to have a place to stay. It has to be affordable. You want to have a good time. You want to meet new people. These are things which are not exclusive, you know? They have to all be there. And so I think that thinking of business as, you know, it has those mandates on par, not just making money, is super important for us to return. I like to quote one guy, you know, Vladas Lashas. He says, if you want to make $1 million, help 1 million people. And it's true. If you find a way of selling something to 1 million people, I guarantee you'll be a millionaire.
I believe so.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and we're talking about these doing good, right? But it has to be, the environment has to be set up for these things. I mean, different countries have different regulations, different legalities and stuff. So do you have any recipe or advices for countries, for governments, or for even Lithuanian government, how to make starting a social business better, like helping those entrepreneurs and stuff?
Oh man, I think there's several things that should be done. First and foremost, it has to start with education. I think start with education. Educate people that if they want to change their realities, start a business. You want to help people, start a business. You want to achieve your self-realization, start a business.
We lack of it at school.
Yeah,
definitely.
we don't have it. But also the thing is that you may not start a business. Maybe you're going to work with somebody, but you're going to know how to go into a business relationship.
Yeah.
With musicians, one of the biggest problems I've had is that people don't understand certain basic concepts. They don't understand a concept of value. They don't understand a concept of ownership. They don't understand a concept of stakeholdership. They don't understand the concept of equity, right? So how are you supposed to know, hey, we're doing something together, we're playing the guitar, blah, 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 you know, and at some moment you're having fun and the other guy's just going to think you're screwing him over when there's just no clarity.
Yeah.
So I think that these kinds of concepts are super important. So starting from education and changing that perception in Lithuania that, and I think in most of Eastern Europe, in many places, that the businessman is just a banditas with a tie.
Yeah. A criminal with a tie.
A criminal
right?
with a tie. And it's true. A lot of the
We do have that notion.
we do have that, and we have it everywhere, and especially in Russia, where, you know, many of the oligarchs are just gang guys. I mean, you have to call them what they are. They're not people who are generating worth. They're just people who are exploiting or using extractive business practices, or sometimes racketeering business practices, monopolistic business. Everything
not
that's
in
terrible.
Lithuania, though, racketeering anymore, but talking about under
I would, you know, it's just white collar now, man. It's just white collar. It's not great. But say, okay, education. Second, changing the mentality of what a business is to
also
society.
education incorporates that
Completely. Emphasis on business as a force for good. Super important. Taxes. Reduce the taxes for
Reduce
these
the
people.
taxes for business.
Of course. Why should a
Small
person...
business, big business.
Man, no. For any business, like, try to factor in externalities. Try to factor them in. Make an effort. If I'm selling cigarettes and alcohol, God bless cigarettes and alcohol. I love cigarettes and alcohol. You know, at least try to factor in that I may end up at a hospital, you know, and try to put that cost in there. Good. If I'm helping homeless people get into the job market, you should factor that in. I should not be paying full taxes for these people. You should be paying me for it because I'm offering the government a service. So there has to be, I mean, again, I return to the value thing, but Lithuania, the thing with Lithuania is that it's not progressive. We love following. We love playing catch up.
Yeah.
We're not good at innovating because we don't believe in ourselves enough. So in a country where actually it's 3 million people, and you could say, we have a new political construct for creating value, for analyzing and assessing the value of businesses, how they generate it, how they affect. You know, we could do this.
Yeah.
United States could never do this. Brazil could never do this. Colombia couldn't do this. Germany couldn't do this. Too many people. This is a small country, but we can't agree. And we're not ambitious enough. So I think that would be great. But let's just start. Education, 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 taxes. What else did I say? Taxes.
Thanks.
That would be great.
Yeah, this education topic is going on for decades, I believe. Well, it's always has been a hot topic, and yeah, you were talking about this thing revisiting economics. Oh, this is a fake coffee, right? I saw you picking up before.
Man, I thought I was having a flashback or something. The room is like, oh,
We have
David Lynch came to visit.
yeah,
And again, thank God we have the Estonians to follow their example. But digitalization of all these bureaucratic processes and making things easier is also super important. And I think that, especially because Lithuania is such a small country, um, this applies to everywhere.
Mm.
If you have processes which are not prohibitive, where you don't have a lot of red tape and all of this, I think that makes things a lot easier. So education, taxation, and digitalization.
I have a completely random, not sure if not even an off-topic example, but I actually have a friend whose university is still in England is
Yeah.
still communicating with real letters. Using, I mean, it's insane to me. And he gets a letter. He doesn't get a letter. Like it was sent like 1 month ago.
Uh-huh.
After almost a month, he gets a letter. Then instantly another one, which is saying that you're almost too late to do it. I don't know. That happens.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of curious things when it comes to technology and how fast we're changing. Um, and it's very strange. It's odd that the British Empire, which actually is one of the reasons why we have globalization. And for
Yeah.
example, the whole education system, the modern education system, is based on the tenets that you can have an accountant in India, in the West Indies. You can have one in London and Hong Kong, and they will all understand the same kind of accounting. Same things with
Yeah.
lawyer. You had this vast homogenization, very very technical education where everybody was little cogs in a machine. So I'm not surprised that the oldest of these institutions are still kind of very much entrenched in their traditions and in their way of doing things. Um, but I mean, that's where we are at the moment. I mean, it's a crazy time, and I mean, we have Belarusia next door, right? You forget
We
this.
do have it. I guess international listeners also know about it already.
It's crazy. I don't think it's not so many people know about Belarusia. It's amazing. It's like they don't know we have the last dictatorship in Europe. But I think in Belarusia they still do things by mail, right? Do you think they do things?
I believe so. But they have a very good IT sector. I mean, IT professionals.
Yes.
They're coming to Lithuania and stuff.
Because they leave.
Yeah, they have to. I believe. Yeah, and you are saying that it's well, we're talking about these establishment things like physical letters and stuff, and it's
Right.
difficult to change something here. We need disruptive things, right? So let's move to Creative Shock right now.
Cool.
Um, what's your experience with that? What do you think about Creative Shock? And yeah, tell us more about it.
Man, I love social enterprise. And I think you can gather from the previous things I've said that I really think that social enterprise is what business needs.
Yeah.
That cutthroat capitalistic business should be something which is marginalized, like social enterprise is marginalized now. And the heart of business should be human. Really, focus on mind, on heart, on people doing things for change. Because I think business can do it. And so I from day one loved being involved with Creative Shock. I said, "Can you host this?" I said, "I love hosting it." And the cool thing is that we've spoken to a lot of human beings, a lot of social entrepreneurs are really understanding how social enterprise sometimes gets a bad rap, and
Yeah.
and like they say, "Oh, well, I'm going to buy this cup of coffee, which doesn't taste so great, it's a little bit old and stale, but it was handpicked by kids in Sudan, blah 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 blah, blah, and I should buy some Tom's shoes because of this." And we start realizing that there's problems with social enterprise. And so it was thanks to Creative Shock that I realized that you have to work this double filter dynamic, kind of like what I was talking about previously, but it really refined when it comes to social entrepreneur, where you have to generate value, you have to out compete your competitors on their game, and then offer added benefits. You have to create that added value. This double filter, double tier kind of
Yeah.
standard. I love that. And I think that's great because you talk to social entrepreneurs who really start, you meet people who actually, you feel that they're on the right track. Last year, I remember we had a guy from, what was his name again? But basically what they do is that they're saving artisans, like people who,
Yeah.
who make shoes and things like that, and trying to give them not only fair pay for what they do, also create value for the people who are buying directly through them,
Mhm.
but also preserving the culture, these artisan traditions, which Zara is all but killing. And yeah, you could say it's bold, but actually it's true. The moment that you don't know how to cook an apple pie anymore, and the only thing that can do it is a machine that knows the recipe, you're gonna say, well, this is strange. Actually, the same thing happened with the V2 rockets and the space program.
Mhm.
I don't know if you heard about this, but apparently nobody can build a rocket the way they did in the 60s. And just because nobody, they don't know the processes, or it's very expensive and things. And so in this case, when business people start thinking about, not only making money, but how am I going to affect climate change? How am I going to help the homeless people in my neighborhood? How am I going to bring mentally disabled people into the workplace? And you unify a way of thinking and seeing. It's actually super exciting because it's people developing practical skills, learning from others, but also a philosophical narrative around business that is super necessary.
Nice.
It's super exciting. I mean, I'm not bullshit. I love it.
That's cool. We have a nice review of Creative Shock.
Yeah, and it's great, and the level of the competition is great, and the people who get involved are amazing. And I host it almost every year, so it can't be bad.
Yeah, and last year we had quite a challenge, like everybody did in the
Yeah.
world. We had it online. Have you gained anything from it? You hosted a dancing conference online, basically. It was amazing.
It's great. I mean, online, it's funny because online is where we're all going. I didn't think I could pivot what I do into online. I like working with people personally and,
Yeah.
pulling out the guitar and like, all right, everybody, we're all gonna like get into the groove right now. We're all gonna swing and I need your voices, blah, blah, blah. That's the way I do it. And funnily enough, it was this adversity, this difficulty of moving online that helped me kind of like, make the shift.
Yeah.
A lot of people are still looking for justice from COVID. It's like, it's not fair. I lost my business. I can't do this. I can't do that. Again, I kind of love the cutthroat part of business where it's like, you have to hustle.
Yeah.
If conditions aren't right, you have to be the first to move. You have to be the first to cut costs. You have to be the first to, say goodbye to some employees if they can't do what they're doing.
It was a huge reality check, though.
It's a huge reality check, and it happened to all of us, man. I had very difficult year last year, but I've also pivoted, and so this year I think will be very good. And I think that's one of the things again where the soft part of social enterprise, this ain't welfare, man. This isn't charity. And I get tired with all the hippies, who are like, oh, we have to do something for humanity. It's like, so how are you going to do it? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I'm going to smoke some pot and like write a book. It's like, go ahead. Right. But what you need is someone who's an entrepreneur who will say, all right, look, we have some people there and they can grow some crops and we can sell them and we can compete with this. Or I'm actually going to design some shoes which have a negative carbon footprint, or I'm going to actually look for them. This is possible. But that's why I think that you need to have a good heart, right? Good heart, a good mind, and it has to be sharp. And in that sense, I think COVID was a great reality check for all of us.
Yeah, quite a huge one.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Funnily enough, the only businesses that did super well was everybody who was working online, all the digital.
Yeah. And we're quite, Lithuanians, quite great at that. We have a lot of services here, so it was a contrast, though.
Of course.
Cafes, restaurants going down, but we had businesses who even grew during the pandemic. That's amazing.
They made a killing.
Yeah.
You know, I joke, I say that if the pandemic was a concerted effort to get humanity online, if it was, I'm not saying it is, but if it was, they could not have done it better. I'm just saying that, like think about it. If the idea was to get everybody online, to open online accounts, to learn how to order food online.
Is it a new conspiracy theory?
It's not a conspiracy. I mean, I'm just saying if it was, I mean, it could not have gone better. Then again, you know, I think there's two very clear positions here. It's like, and I think we can't be, I mean, let's not get into conspiracy theories because I don't necessarily believe in what I'm saying. I like to entertain hypotheses, right? It's a good hypothesis. Sure. But in this case, there's something very important there, is that really understanding the effect that technology is having on us. I mean, man, I'm vaccinated. I'm doing my things online.
Oh, that might.
Yeah, I'm
okay
vaccinated.
With some people.
yeah. Well, you know, I have to be practical.
Yeah.
But I will respect people who don't want to vaccinate themselves if they have a narrative. And I also respect people who think, you know what? I think it's bad that I'm spending 12 hours a day in front of a screen. I think it's not so great that, you know, I'm losing human touch when I'm buying things at the market. I think I think it's not so great that we're not being educated in the same space. So I think it's such a complex issue, and it's so personal. It's so personal. I think that people still have to have the freedom to choose and to say, I don't want to be online. You know, I don't want to. I want to live in the jungle with some indigenous people. Good for you. You know, I want to live a life more simple. And I think that the problem there, and what we just need to recognize, is that now not living online is no longer a luxury you can afford.
Yeah, I believe so.
It's like, right?
But it has a lot of good things.
It has good things, of course, but what if you don't want to? But it's like, no, I don't want an electronic signature. I don't want a bank account. You know.
Well, you have to somehow.
I don't want a credit card.
You then somehow improvise.
No, I agree. It's just it's a free for all market, right?
Yeah.
Like let the entrepreneurs do their thing and let them you know think about how to do it. I trust entrepreneurs more than I trust politicians.
Okay.
So I think that there's also things coming up. For example, there's regenerative villages coming up right now all over the world. There's a regenerative village basically is like a new model of kind of gated community condominium housing. They're coming up. People are saying, I don't want to live in the city. I don't want to spend my money on stupid stuff. I want to live with people I care about. I want to have a negative carbon footprint. I want to live in contact with nature. And so there's people who are making these things happen. So the question again is really, if you allow good entrepreneurs with good hearts to do their thing, then maybe we will find good solutions, you know. And I think one of the best examples here, like you think about it, like for example, Creative Commons, Wikipedia, Ubuntu, Linux kind of things, right? There are amazing human beings which can come together and create things that transcend business. These aren't even, a lot of these aren't even owned by anyone as a private company, right? How are they doing this? They're changing the world through this kind of like horizontal, non-structured process of co-creation. And it's magical. And so I think that is what we should be aiming at, you know, not just the business, not just the like a you know, activist part, but really understand that these people are not CEOs. They are philosophers, worldly philosophers who are altering the course of humanity one by one. That's
wow.
Yeah, think about it. Like Mantas Mikutskas as well. Like I've known him for years. It's like, oh, we're going to wear the same clothes, and I'm going to sell you my used clothes. 15 years ago, you'd have said he's crazy. But there you go, and that's actually making a very big difference. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. There you go. That's what I believe in, not in the politicians.
Wow. And young people still finding their path in life and young entrepreneurs, right? Maybe you have some advices for them, how to shape their career, what to do.
Yeah, man. Look, best piece of advice I can give you is really know that what you don't control is controlling you. And
Okay.
sometimes you need to know. Like, I can't control my taxes. I can control them a little bit. The rest, I just have to play the game. All right,
Mm.
fine, good. But really know that you can do a lot more than you know. And actually, it's a very beautiful quote by Gianni Versace.
Mm-hmm.
No, Giorgio Armani, not Gianni, sorry. Giorgio Armani. Giorgio Armani said, you can do a lot more than you think. And no, you can do a lot more than you know. And you know a lot more than you think.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to believe in yourself. And so in this case, it's very important for you to understand your part in the place and really understand that you have to play that game, and really have faith in yourself. I would recommend people to dream big, to fail big, go get a job, like explore the whole dynamic range of experience in it. I think a lot of entrepreneurs could benefit from being, low tier employees.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of low tier employees don't dream big enough. And so I think here it's just really enjoying the experience, having mobility, and having faith in yourself and others. Which at this point, there's so much words that have come from my mouth in this closing statement that it's no longer a precise piece of advice. It's like, just, I would say trust yourselves more.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, who am I to tell you? Like, enjoy yourselves. Like if you want the good one, Giorgio Armani, that's a good one. You can do a lot more than you know, and you know a lot more than you think. Have a little bit of faith in yourself, and don't be afraid of getting bruises. That's it.
With that good note,
That's a good note. That's a good note.
to wrap it up,
Ba-ba-da-da-ba. Whatever. Da-da.
nice, nice, nice. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being with Creative Shock all those years, for making the world a better place.
Thanks for the lovely coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. No, and thank you, dude. What you're doing is a fantastic thing, and I'm really proud of you.
And
I'm really proud of the whole Creative Shock thing, because in a place like Lithuania, how long have you been? 10 years? Is
it's
it already?
11th, I
It's
guess.
11
Yeah.
years. It's amazing. 11 years of like really finding a way of not having the same people do it. That's super important, because it's a culture that is growing, it is evolving, and people are teaching one another. So you're going to take that culture with you. You're going to
Yeah.
teach somebody to be Creative Shock, and you're going to take Creative Shock with us, with you and with us. So that's hundreds of people, which will become thousands of people in the next couple of years, just because there's a steady pace and there's a way of passing on that inspirational message and that way of doing things. So congrats to you.
And guys, don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Spotify. So enjoy.